Commonly confused words, Lesson 1.
Instructions. During this PowerPoint, you will see the speaker icon. Take your mouse and hover over the icon to adjust the volume. Make sure to turn on your computer volume. Left-click the mouse to advance the slides. A and the are three adjective articles. That simply means that they modify or describe a noun. Remember, a noun is a person, a place, a thing, and even an idea. Let's begin with the word a. A describes a non-specific noun. That means any noun. A is normally used before a consonant. Let's look at the example. I want a cold bottle of water. In this sentence, the bottled water can be any kind of bottled water. There are two rule breakers. Let's examine them both. First, a is used before any word that has the long U sound at the beginning. Let's look at our first example. A union worker has a representative. In this example, a is used before the word union because union has the long U sound. Let's examine our second rule breaker. A is always used before a word that begins with an O but makes the W sound. Let's look at our example. We are taking a one-stop flight to Florida. A is used before the word one because one sounds like it begins with a W. Our next article is an. An is a little bit like a in that an also describes a non-specific noun, meaning any noun. But the difference between an and a is that an is normally used before the vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. Let's look at our first example. In the sentence, I observed an owl near the canopy of the forest. Notice that owl begins with an O. O is a vowel. Therefore, the article an would be the proper word to place before the word owl. The article an has one rule breaker. Let's take a look at that together. A word beginning with an unsounded H uses the article an. Now let's examine our first example sentence. Mr. President, it is an honor to meet you. In that sentence, the word honor has a silent H in front of it. Because of that silent H, we will use the article an. Now let's examine the second example sentence. I will be there in about an hour. The word hour has a silent H. Because the H is silent, we use the article an in front of the word hour. Are you still confused about the silent H? There's a very quick and easy way to figure out whether or not your word has a silent H. Put your hand in front of your mouth. Say the word horse. When you say the word horse and happy, feel the breath hitting your hand. That is a sounded H. In that case, we would use the article a, because a is used with all consonants. Now, let's understand what an unsounded H sounds like. In the word honor, you don't feel your breath. In the word hour, you again don't feel your breath. That is an unsounded H, and in both cases, we use the article an. And the last article we're going to learn about today is the article the. The is a little bit different than an and a. An and a articles are used to describe non-specific nouns, any noun. However, the article the describes a specific noun. It can be used before consonants and vowels. Let's take a look at this together. In our first example sentence, We were happy to attend the birthday party. The writer is talking about the birthday party he or she attended, not just any party, but the party. Now let's examine our last sentence. The dog ate my homework. In this sentence, it wasn't any dog in the neighborhood. It was one specific dog who ate the homework. There are 7 cases when one would never use the article the. But before we review them, this is a good time for us to go ahead and take a pause. And I think you should give yourself a great big pat on the back. Why? Because you already know all of this. You sure do. You know all these rules, and you knew them before you ever came into school. Let's review the first rule. Never use the article the when you're naming most countries. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to Mexico this summer. I would not say to you, I am going to the Mexico this summer. That sounds ridiculous. Instead, what we do is we simply drop the and say, I'm going to Mexico this summer. We don't use the when we're talking about cities, towns, or states. Let's consider Richmond. If I'm going to go buy a pair of shoes in Richmond, I would not say, I'm going to the Richmond to buy my shoes. That doesn't even sound correct. You already know that. Simply drop the and we say, I'm going to Richmond to buy shoes. The same with names of streets. Never use the article the when naming streets. If you're asked, where is your school located? You might say, on Hull Street Road. That would be correct, but you would never say, on the Hull Street Road. That's incorrect. The same with lakes and bays. Again with mountains. The only thing you need to be aware of with mountains is that if there is a chain of mountains, like the Rocky Mountains or the Smoky Mountains, we definitely want to put the article before them. But any other kind of mountains, no, we don't use the. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm going to climb Mount Everest this weekend. I would not say to you, I'm going to climb the Mount Everest. That's ridiculous. I would simply say to you, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. The same with naming continents and with islands. However, do be aware that when you do name islands, if there is a chain of islands, we definitely want to make sure we put the article the before it, like in the Canary Islands. Here's a little trivia for you. Did you know the has 2 pronunciations? It does. Let's review the first. The sounds like the when it comes before a word that begins with a vowel. Let's take a look at our examples. The apple, the elephant, the ice cream. I see the octopus swimming in the large saltwater fish tank. The second pronunciation, the, is used before all words that begin with a consonant. Let's take a look at some examples. The book, the cat, the doctor, the food. I can smell the gross garbage in that can. Finally, we use the pronunciation the when we wish to place emphasis on a specific word. For example, Marco, I ate lunch with the governor yesterday. And seriously, the governor of Virginia? Marco, absolutely.